Welcome to an enlightening journey. This educational content offers challenging insights. Approach with an open mind. The link for the study guide can be found in the description. Subscribe to join the exploration. Let's dive in without wasting time. Mastering time. Strategies for effective time management. Chapter 1. Introduction. To achieve what we value most, we need to spend our time on our most important goals. A bank credits your account with $86,400, carries over no balance from day to day, allows you to keep no cash balance, and every evening cancels whatever part of the amount you had failed to use during the day. What would you do? Draw out every cent, of course. Well, you have such a bank, and its name is time. Every morning, it credits you with 86,400 seconds. Every night, it writes off, as lost, whatever of this you have failed to invest to good purpose. It carries over no balance. It allows no overdraft. Each day, it opens a new account with you. Each night, it burns the records of the day. If you fail to use the day's deposits, the loss is yours. There is no going back. There is no drawing against the tomorrow. You must live in the present on today's deposits. This brief paragraph is an excerpt from an essay written by a famous all-time management author by the name of Alan Lakein. This paragraph alone has illustrated the importance of time management. It shows that managing our time is like managing our money. We must make good use out of it. Alan Lakein's essay, Time Management, uses the bank account as a good and important example of managing time. He states that time is of essential nature, and anything that is urgent and important should be done as soon as possible. Not managing time well wastes such limited time, just as money not managed properly is wasted. Alan Lakein makes yet another good point. Time is fixed. It cannot be carried over. If we fail to use the deposit, it is gone from us forever, without any record of how we spent it. Importance of time management. Success in time management can also be an encouragement to make a change in our time management. The idea of changing something can be daunting for some, but regardless of individual opinions, there are always ways to improve on our present time management. Success should breed more success. As we see that we are able to have more effective control of our time and see the positive results, we are likely to make permanent changes in our time management to sustain or improve the effectiveness. When you take steps to improve your time management, it almost always results in a greater degree of control and reduced stress. There is also likely to be an increase in your motivation because, as you begin to take control of your time, you will start to see results as increased productivity when compared to the amount of effort you are putting in. High levels of stress and fatigue can result from ineffective time management and can also affect both your physical and mental health. So taking steps to avoid these negatives is enough reason in itself to want to take full control of your time. It seems that everyone is seeking more hours in a day. But since time can't change, we can change our time management. Time management is defined as the skill of managing one's own time in the best way and the effective use of time. Time management is often one of the most difficult tasks to learn, specifically for individuals who have not had to follow a fixed schedule in the past. For some people, managing time comes naturally. For others, however, it is especially difficult to learn and practice. At its core, time management is about control. It is about taking control of the hours in your day effectively, in order to achieve the best possible results in the shortest amount of time. Benefits of effective time management. Effective time management allows you to plan ahead, making certain that you make the correct decisions at the right time. Planning in this sense is based on being able to predict what you have to do in the future and setting up a schedule of activities. This can reduce stress of not having enough time and reduce the risk of making decisions that would be damaging to your work or your desire to free up more time. Setting up time management is a key element to being successful in a variety of situations, academic, professional, or personal. You will be able to work harder and more focused when you have a clear idea of how much free time you can attain at certain points in the future. A byproduct of this is more motivation to learn or do what you feel is productive. High productivity nearly always leads to more self-esteem and confidence in your actions. Who would not want more of that? Once you have an effective time management system in operation, it is possible to enjoy the contentment that comes from knowing that you have not forgotten something important. When you manage your time, you manage your life. Time is a fixed commodity, but people are often reminded of its limits. This reminder can trigger a variety of emotions. It can mean elation at having accomplished something important, the frustration of not having enough time to do what needs to be done, and better still, the guilt-free free time in knowing you can now do something you enjoy. A good time management is an enormous benefit to most people. High achievers often use time management techniques to ensure they are completing their important tasks from previous experience in the most efficient ways. Achieving balance in life. This is a key point about achieving balance. The important thing about balance is that it leads to a better quality of life. When our lives lack balance, many things can go wrong. We can become tired and less effective at work, which can be counterproductive, limiting our leisure time rather than extending it. We can suffer detrimental effects on health, feel increased levels of stress, and feel that life is unrewarding. It's quite possible to enjoy some aspects of our lives while neglecting others, and although this may provide short-term satisfaction, it can often lead to feelings of guilt or inadequacy. Would-be workaholics often fall into this category. They enjoy the buzz that success at work brings but feel they are neglecting their family or social life. They try to ignore this by working even harder, but this is not a solution. Neither workaholism nor idleness represents effective time management, and both are symptomatic of people who have failed to make the best choices with their time. People such as these have a lot to gain from learning how to manage their time more effectively in order to achieve the life they really want. For many of us, it often seems that the need to address work-related things overshadows everything else in our lives. We feel we must push on, even at the expense of other equally important things. Some feel they are not striving hard enough unless they are seen to be overworking. There's an important message here. If you overwork in the short term, you become less effective in the long term. In order to maintain and improve effectiveness, stamina, and motivation, it is essential to have periods of productive work, interspersed with appropriate rest and relaxation. Chapter 2. Understanding Time Management. The first step toward effective time management is a clear understanding of what time management means. At a simple level, time management is the ability to plan and control how you spend the hours in your day to effectively accomplish your goals. However, it is much more than working from a to-do list and being punctual. It is an attitude. Time management involves changing how you use your time. It is a broad area. It can involve a change in the way you approach your time to effect a change in the way you spend your time. Time management can be effectively used in all aspects of your life. With a systematic approach, an individual can become aware of the way they use their time. This can then turn into a conscious effort to change their patterns of behavior in terms of time usage. For example, a person who has never been particularly organized, using time management techniques, they would be able to develop organizational skills, in turn changing the way they approach or do things. This is also a fundamental skill in management, and is particularly effective for procrastinators. It is all a matter of taking the time to plan, and in planning taking the time to prioritize the tasks to be done. As described in the quote by H. Lawrence Peter, control of your time is key to your personal effectiveness. Defining time management. An alternative approach looks at time management from a broader perspective, incorporating the ways people feel about their time and the strategies they use to manage time. It involves activities intended to plan, allocate, and control time to increase effectiveness. The principal objective of time management is to find a balance between the time spent working and the time spent relaxing. A relatively new approach to time management is time management towards goal setting. This approach looks at shifting focus from traditional time management to an attempt at managing time in ways that support the attainment of personal and professional goals. Slime, sharing, handling shift work, and electronic communication have caused disruption or changes in patterns to the way people manage time. These changes result in effects of time management being a complex topic that intersects with many modern psychological issues. This definition encompasses many of the aspects of time management. It is centered on the allocation of time to different activities to increase effectiveness. It includes a personal and psychological level, and it also includes the activities of time management systems at the socio-educational and work levels. The psychology of time. This has implications in self-regulation, since deciding to engage in a particular behavior is, in essence, a decision to create a specific future state. If the behavior is viewed in an abstract way, there is a greater chance that the person will construe it as fitting to a higher level goal, and it is more likely that implementation intention will occur, the level of commitment to enacting a behavior. This is because there is less disconnection between the self at the time of making the plan and the self at the time of enacting the plan, meaning that the environment of plan creation and plan enactment are judged as being more similar. When a person decides to undertake a specific behavior, but the behavior is viewed as having a low probability of success due to being viewed as too difficult or too time-consuming, it is categorized as procrastination on a task that is pertinent to a goal. Trope and Fishback, 2000, propose an alternative view of self-control resource theory, which sees procrastination as a failure on the part of the person to allocate the required effort to the task at the future state, although this does not preclude the task being postponed indefinitely. An event that is close to a person, both in time and space, can be represented in a concrete manner, and its specific attributes can be easily perceived. In contrast, when the event is far from a person, either temporally or spatially, it is represented in a relatively abstract manner as a set of central implications or expected values. The previous section had time at a macro level, looking at the broad picture of how you spend your time. This section will consider time at a psychological level. This is an important perspective because how we view time and its effect on our behavior can affect whether or not we choose to act in particular ways. An error in planning time is our failure to separate the environment in which we make the plan from the environment in which the plan will take place. In temporal construal theory, TCT, Trope and Liberman, 2018, wrote that different psychological distances from the self to the events can create mental representations with differing levels of abstractness and concreteness. Common time management challenges. Reaction to change is a common time management problem. Do you set your expectations too high? This can lead to frustration and a lack of productivity. As life is dynamic, with some tasks, it is best to simply complete them to a satisfactory level. Perfectionism can be the enemy of good time management. If you spend too much time on a task, an opportunity cost is associated as time could have been spent elsewhere. A general lack of direction can be a problem. This can often be solved by developing a personal goal-setting strategy which incorporates your vision of your ideal future and the steps you will take to get there. Some people are so disorganized that they cannot plan ahead. This might be because their life is so chaotic that it is hard to see any kind of order. Suitable planning and prioritizing can help you to regain control. Any disturbance in your working environment can have a direct effect on how you manage your time. It may be an uncooperative colleague, mind-numbing paperwork, or a ringing telephone. These are productivity killers which can be combated to some extent. Terminating any such activity which does not contribute to your personal or organizational goals can be perceived as a form of planned ignoring. Chapter 3. Setting clear goals. When setting goals, you should take into account your priorities in life. Goals that relate to higher priority items will usually be more meaningful and produce a greater sense of satisfaction and accomplishment. This will contribute to the enhancement of personal control on life and will serve as an impetus for making goal setting and attainment a lifelong skill. Goals may be set in any and all areas of your life and should span a broad range of difficulty. Goals can be set in the following areas: education, career, income, family, health, recreation, etc. Successive goal setting and attainment in one area fuels the belief that personal effort and careful planning can make things happen. This is a great confidence-building exercise. The number of benefits and accomplishments one can reap from goal setting is enormous, and individuals who do decide to try a systematic approach to life based on their own desires will likely never turn back. Once you have identified priorities, you can use them to formulate goals. A goal is a future state of affairs or end to be achieved. It is an aim or a desired result. A goal implies something that has much personal meaning and something towards which an enormous amount of effort and perseverance is exerted. Goals provide a sense of personal and social control over our lives. They are things that we want to make exist and be maintained. We create goals for the purpose of changing some current state into a future state that we desire more. Goals range anywhere from changing a personality trait to global social change. The final way to identify priorities that I will mention is a love of what should be. It includes a broad examination of where you are to where you'd like things to be. An important distinction that I imagine must exist here is between contentment with transitory situations and dissatisfaction with the direction of your life course. At times, one ought to be content with the way things are but dissatisfied with the way they're happening, or the fact that attaining more meaningful life directions is proving to be especially difficult. Satisfaction is an attitude that what one has is, on the whole, good, acceptable, or at least tolerable. Satisfaction with the transitory should not be mistaken for satisfaction with what is most important and vital in life. Periodic examination of where your satisfaction is directed is an important part of identifying what should be. This love of what should be is the wellspring of positive change and a value-based life, as it is fueled by conscious attempts to make reality or desired realities congruent with values. Another exercise you can use to decide what is most important to you is the values assessment. A first step in finding the best values exercise for you is to consider a time when you were especially satisfied and happy. Then think way back to your childhood and early adulthood and remember the times when you were really feeling alive, where things resonated with you, really worked, you were doing your thing. Try to identify a few of these concrete instances with precision. At these times, you were probably living one or more values that were vitally important to you. Compare the list of these old-time values with the list of values in the first exercise and find the values that best describe those peak experiences in your life. An exercise that will help you to decide what you want to achieve in your life is to imagine that you are age 85 and are throwing a party. What would you want the people in your life to think and say about you as they are talking about who you were? Identifying the priorities in life is very important. If you do not know what you need to do, you cannot manage your time effectively. There are a few ways to identify your priorities. First, take a look at how you spend your time. Time is a great revealer of what is really important to us. In a week, where do you spend the majority of your time? What do you talk about most? What do you spend the most money on? Answering these questions will provide you with an idea of what you value most at this point in your life. Smart goal setting. Decide first what the general area is that you want to work in, and from there try to be as specific as you can. A useful way of making goals more specific is to use visual, word, and paper or electronic aids. These can help in brainstorming the possible things that you would like to accomplish. You can then arrange these in a list or a rough time scale. After that, consider setting a SMART goal that describes where you want to be in that scale. Specific goals are well-defined and clear. Vague or generalized goals are unhelpful because they don't provide sufficient direction. Remember, you need goals to show you the way. Make it as easy as you can to get where you want to go by defining precisely where you want to end up. To do this, try to ask yourself the 6 W questions. What do I want to accomplish? Why is this goal important? Who is involved? Where is it located? Which resources or limits are involved? Setting clear goals is a vital time management strategy, yet it is often neglected. Many of us are vague about what it is that we want to achieve. This can lead to a lack of direction and focus, which is definitely not good for time management. A useful way of making goals more powerful is to use the SMART mnemonic. These are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. Using this framework can give goals, and the actions that result from them, a greater sense of purpose. Breaking down goals into tasks. The most effective way of achieving a goal is to break it down into doable steps or tasks. This is the basis of action planning and can make even the most daunting of tasks seem possible. An action plan is a list of tasks that you need to carry out in order to achieve a specific goal. It is a series of steps that, when taken in sequence, will lead to the desired result. An effective action plan will outline all of the necessary steps and provide a way of monitoring progress towards the goal. This can be useful in that if the plan is not achieving the desired result, it may highlight that the initial goal is too ambitious and needs to be broken down further. Goal setting is the bridge between identifying priorities and getting tasks done. Once we have identified what is most important and decided what we want to achieve, we need to convert the goal into action. To work effectively, it is important that we have a clear goal of what it is we wish to achieve. This feature provides strategies for breaking goals down into doable tasks and scheduling the tasks in a way that makes efficient use of time. Chapter 4. Prioritizing tasks. The benefits come from reducing urgent and avoiding tasks without importance, reducing the time spent in the other two quadrants, and increased time in the important but not urgent quadrant, which often brings feelings of control, less stress, and an ability to make progress. The urgent/important matrix is a powerful way to make priorities in your life. This is more a way of life than a technique. It's not a method to organize your tasks. It's a way to look at your long, mid, and short-term priorities. Therefore, effectiveness is often a result of applying the matrix and the accompanying strategies. The benefits can be enormous. It moves you away from firefighting and frees up time so that you can look to the future and make progress in your life. It is also effective for using with other people, in interactions with your manager or managing your team, as it's likely that the priorities of tasks are not all your own. The Eisenhower matrix is used to prioritize tasks by urgency and importance. Eisenhower matrix. Finally, the last quadrant is the easiest to handle. These are tasks that are not important and not urgent. You can just say no to these tasks, which is the easiest way to save time. Now the other two quadrants are related to undesirable tasks. They are urgent but not important. For these tasks, you have to see if you can avoid them. For example, someone may want your help with something unclear that needs to be redone, and you know this. It's a mistake, and you would like to avoid it. But right now, it's urgent even though your mind knows it's not critical at all. Then there are tasks that are important but not urgent. These could be things like learning a new technology, process, product, language, etc., or doing a certification. If you do these things properly, you can save time and become more efficient, which helps in the long run. So these tasks need to be planned and done in free time and require a lot of commitment. The best ones are the critical and urgent items because they are important and need to be done as soon as possible. Eisenhower matrix is a simple tool for sorting out issues based on two criteria: criticality and urgency. Criticality refers to the importance of the issue. If something is important, you need to do it. If it is not important, you should ignore it. The second factor is how soon it needs to be done. Some issues can be postponed, and you don't need to think about them now. Based on these two factors, you categorize tasks into 4 different quadrants, as shown in the figure. Urgent viz. Important. A lot of material about prioritizing tasks is based around the urgent important axis, first described by U.S. President Dwight D. Eisenhower. Essentially, This is a 2x2 matrix that is drawn from a horizontal and vertical axis. On the vertical axis, we evaluate how important the task is. This is something that contributes to our long-term goals. We measure the urgency of a task from the time frame that it is required to be completed in. This is not as trivial as it may seem. An urgent task is one that is on a tight deadline or may have a consequence if it is not completed soon. Compare this to tasks that are not urgent to do. Urgent tasks are more often than not used to avoid important tasks that really need to be done. By definition, an urgent and important task is one that must be done, and if it is the last thing we do, we must get it right. ABC method. Organized and systematic, the ABC method is among the many techniques suggested to prioritize tasks. This method can be done by following simple steps. First, list all the tasks that you want to accomplish. Then place an A, B, or C next to each task according to its importance. Tasks are very important ones that you must do. This can include studying for exams, working on projects, or anything else that would greatly affect your life if left undone. B tasks are things that you should do. These are tasks with short-term consequences. Cleaning your room, calling a friend back, or shopping for a birthday present can be considered B tasks. C tasks are tasks that would be nice to do that have no consequences if left undone. Watching TV, reading a book, or taking a walk can be considered C tasks. Now that tasks have their designated letters, reorder them so that all the A's are at the top, followed by the B's, then the C's. This order is the order in which you should accomplish your tasks. Though it is tough in the beginning, the ABC method is very effective at helping you to organize and discipline yourself. Chapter 5. Effective Planning Techniques. The time intervals are frequent enough to maintain concentration, yet not so long that mental fatigue undermines the task at hand. The regular breaks at scheduled intervals prevent overloading and burnout. A lot of people have difficulty tracking and maintaining level of concentration. This technique encourages feelings of achievement, as often execution of the plans can be hindered by the thought of the task seeming too large or the person not in the right mood. The Pomodoro technique alleviates those feelings. 1. Decide on the task to be done. 2. Set the Pomodoro timer to 25 minutes. 3. Work on the task. 4. When the timer rings, put a check mark on a piece of paper. 5. If there are less than 4 check marks, take a short 3 to 5 minute break and then repeat from step 2. Otherwise, take a planned break for 15 to 30 minutes. The Pomodoro technique uses a timer to break down work into intervals traditionally 25 minutes in length, separated by short breaks. These intervals are known as pomodoros, the plural in English of the Italian word pomodoro, meaning tomato. The method is based on the idea that frequent breaks can improve mental agility. There are 5 basic steps to implementing the technique. Time blocking is a very effective time management technique, as the process does not require much effort. Simply start by planning a day, a week, or a month and fitting every activity and every task required to meet your objectives into a time slot. It helps people to remember and anticipate when they will need to do a certain activity. Often people will forget to do something at its designated time. Others will remember but procrastinate and avoid doing it. With time blocking, it allows people to allocate a specific time to do the activity, and a person is more likely to do the task if they have planned to do it. They will also do it in less time than they had originally planned for, allowing more flexibility for future time blocks. Not only does time blocking help with planning, it helps relieve the anxiety of the constant nagging thoughts about the tasks that need to be completed. Time blocking. Whenever possible, group similar tasks together. Our brains are best able to focus and accomplish tasks to the best of our abilities when it can get into a rhythm with a certain activity. By multitasking or switching back and forth between 2 different things, we experience something called switching cost. This is the brief mental block that comes in the split second in transitioning from one task to another. Oftentimes, this term carries a negative connotation. This is because more often than not, the switching cost takes the form of forgetting what you were just about to do or losing the great idea you had while working on a different task. The task that the word is attached to might not even get done to the best of your ability. It is much more enjoyable to work on easy tasks with great focus and stretch yourself with tough tasks. By grouping activities, you can set your daily rhythm and optimize your mental energy. Time blocking is a very simple technique. Just plan your day in advance and dedicate specific time blocks to certain tasks. This will help you not only get more accomplished by working in focused, concentrated bursts, but also by ensuring that you get necessary tasks done. By having a daily plan of attack, you will be able to eliminate wasted time and make the most of the time that you have. This means you can have free time guilt-free, knowing that you've accomplished your most pressing tasks. And when you are doing free time activities, you can be more relaxed and present, knowing that you're not forgetting anything or procrastinating. Pomodoro Technique. Peter, who is a third-year history student, says that the Pomodoro Technique really helped with dissertation writing, which can be really daunting due to the long hours of research and writing. He says that sticking to the time slot on a designated task stops/prevents procrastination, as you know there is a set time to work and rest. Breaking down work into smaller parts makes it more manageable, and at the end, I would be amazed how much work I finished in a day. He says that while he did not stick to the 5-minute break and 15 to 30 minutes rest, the idea of breaking the work into segments really helped him at keeping motivated and maintaining a work rate. A simple technique where you use a timer to break down tasks into more manageable time slots. The idea is to set a timer for 25 minutes and work on a task until the timer goes off. Once the timer goes off, you get a 5-minute break to do whatever you want. This is one complete work cycle. After you've finished a cycle, you start again, setting the timer for another 25 minutes and so on. After completing 4 work cycles, you then complete a longer 15 to 30-minute break. This is a systematic method which can really improve work rate and motivation. Task batching. An approach where similar tasks are performed in a group or batch to take advantage of the economies of repetition. It is a non-intuitive time management tactic that yields some very positive results. Batching is effective because it reduces the amount of transition time between tasks. The result is that it reduces the task switch overhead. Single tasks are more time-consuming when they are preceded and followed by unlike tasks. By grouping similar tasks, you can sequence them to be more efficient. The analogy here is the production line. Batching is also an effective way of handling tasks that are time-critical. If you have to reserve tickets for an event a month ahead, and you also have some forms that need to be filled to register a fortnight before the event, completing both task types in the same batch would be an effective way of meeting the registration deadline for the least amount of time. Now the forms and ticket reservation need to be done at a specific time and would benefit from being entered into a schedule. This brings us to the final point of batch execution. If you have a high priority task, a batch of less important maintenance tasks can prevent those minor jobs from becoming major distractions. This helps to maintain focus on the higher priority task. Chapter 6. Managing Distractions. There are 4 main types of distractions according to Mike Liebling. The first are external distractions. These come from people or events around us. The second are the thoughts in our mind at the time. Thirdly, we have the internal triggers, or our reaction to a given situation. The final distraction type is composed of the features of the environment that act as noise-reducing concentration. Step 1 to taking control is to remove these and any other known distractions that prevent you from working effectively. The following diagram is a good method to start with. Create a mind map with yourself in the middle, and then anything that you would normally do when you know you should be working came off that, or anything else that causes you to lose your focus. Then, with this information, complete a necessity scale for all of the tasks or distractions in terms of value and necessity to you. If you only value speaking to a friend on MSN at 20%, yet it takes up 60% of your time, then you can clearly see that it is not worth doing and needs to be stopped. Use this to set limitations on the things you do that take up your time and ensure that only the most valuable ventures are kept. Do be aware, though, that this task cannot always be successfully completed and some distractions are unavoidable. In that case, an often underutilized tool can be the prevention of distraction spillover. An example of this is the carrying out of non-work activities at working hours. This can affect future work and can take away the satisfaction of the activity that is generally done at a time of relaxation. Identifying and eliminating time wasters. An important point to note is that it is not possible to make effective use of all our time all of the time. It is not the intention that the reader should try to use time gained from eliminating these time wasters to increase their work and so increase stress. It is intended is that time gained be time for self. All too often, when extra work time is found, it is seen as an opportunity for more work. This is false economy. This is not suggesting less work, but better balance. Learn to keep time aside for activities that are refreshing. Easier said than done for those where rest has become rust. Time gained can also be used just having a longer break when you know you have to work late to meet a deadline and still feel refreshed the next day. These uses of time are vital to achieve better balance and stress reduction, yet also the effectiveness of the work that is being done. Remember these as you work with the ideas about to be presented, so that you do not overload yourself with more work. If one has too many reasons for wanting free time, it may lead to attempting to still use it all for work. There are 20 common time wasters that can affect an individual's effective use of time as a resource. See list below. By identifying those time wasters and then deciding to take regular positive action to eliminate them, it becomes possible to go a long way towards effective time management. During the course of investigating those time wasters, it is likely that the reader will have been able to think of examples of their effect, and when this is so, put aside time to work out a strategy or strategies to avoid the time wasted in future. It is possible to quickly review the list of time wasters now and consider any strategies/ease that come to mind as you read through each one in turn. Creating a distraction-free environment. You will need to remove the TV and radio from your work area, or at the very least make sure they are switched off. Background music may be okay. Try music with no vocals if you find music too distracting. But the TV or radio will divert your attention and make it difficult for you to maintain sustained concentration. Also, while the telephone may be crucial for your work, it can also be a big distraction. Try to allocate specific times in the day when you will return calls, and let any other calls go to voicemail. You can then respond to these with a block of time devoted to telephone communication. Email can be an even greater menace to productivity, so it is imperative to turn off email notification messages and allocate specific times in the day for checking and responding to emails. With emails that require lengthy responses, it is often more productive to print the email and write a response by hand. You can then type the response and send it at the end of the day. This method saves on the interruption in concentration caused by typing and allows for a more portable, easier to proofread, and more personal response. Finally, it may seem obvious, but having a clear plan for the day's work and its objectives can greatly reduce disagreement about what you should be doing at any given time, and subsequently lessen the distraction of irrelevant thoughts. Dealing with procrastination. It is important to realize that procrastination means putting things off for no good reason. There are often underlying reasons for procrastination. Sometimes it is to do with things like fear of failure or fear of success. It can also be an act of rebellion against demands from yourself or others, or a way of keeping your options open. It can also be linked to slogging, the kind of thinking which goes, I have to do this task, but I don't want to, and I won't feel right until I have, so I might as well waste some time before I do. The problem is that this is likely to make you feel worse in the long term. and during the time wasting there is likely to be a feeling of guilt about what you should be doing, which will actually make the task seem even less attractive. To avoid procrastination, it can be useful to first identify the reasons for doing so, and examine the causes and effects of it in terms of the thoughts, feelings, and actions related to the task in hand. A cost-benefit analysis can be done to weigh up the advantages and disadvantages of not doing the task compared to doing it. Once you have a good idea as to why you are avoiding the task, you can use the following strategies to get going. Chapter 7. Enhancing Productivity. Time-saving tools and apps, by far the most popular idea we had to gather, taught by almost every productivity guru we've ever spoken with. It was Theodore Roosevelt, however, one of our all-time favorites, who said, "Do what you can, with what you have, where you are." Software programs, smartphones, and web applications are tremendous resources. Yet, it is by implementing them in daily practice that we may greatly enhance our productivity. David Allen, the author of Getting Things Done, has noted that if you are not using a tool for your ideas, they will use you. Ubiquitous capture tools, like Evernote, things for the iPhone, or simply a small notebook, ensure that ideas will never float into the ether and are well preserved for the very next step, implementation. He goes on to say, however, that there is no ideal organizational tool, only the one you are willing to maintain. Avoid tool overload. Choose what works so you can work and keep working. Deeper into the realm of software is an invaluable program called Rescue Time. It runs securely in the background and tracks time spent on applications and websites, giving the user an accurate picture of their day. Time is parsed into various categories labeled productive, neutral, or detrimental, and the data is all compiled into an easily readable visualization. This provides hard evidence of productivity trends and often soft enforcement to spend more time on task. Time-saving tools and apps. The next step in utilizing software tools to manage time would be in optimizing specific tasks or functions with time tracking and creating automation scripts. Time tracking can range from simply clocking time spent on a task to generating timesheets and progress reports. This can optimize time by measuring results and identifying how much time is worth spending on a certain task or a more efficient way of doing it. A similar result can be achieved with task optimization by creating automation scripts, although it requires more skill and time investment. Adapting this to a simpler programming role, a script can be used to automate a task that would take 10 minutes to do by a more efficient method that takes 5 minutes. This is effectively a time-saving tool and will benefit the user in the long run. Typical software can be a more direct way to manage time on the computer. They can range from basic calendar tools that come with operating systems to task management tools that can be customized to the user's needs. Calendar software provides a practical way to manage time for activities at the desk or on the go, with pop-up reminders for events and deadlines. Task management software can greatly help to organize work and personal projects with to-do lists and progress tracking. An efficient way to manage tasks is to apply task attributes to the user's role and rate their priority. In turn, this can generate a task list or plan that optimizes the best use of time. These tools provide an efficient and versatile way to plan time and can be used in conjunction with paper day timers to plan around scheduled events. For the professional who thinks in terms of making the most of every second, utilizing tools to keep track of time and manage it more efficiently is a natural step to take in improving time management. The function of time management tools range from basic clocks and calendars to electronic day timers. These are all designed to help the user better use their time. When looking to adopt time management tools, the individual should examine what they are and what they want to get out of it. After establishing this, the next step should be to examine what tools are available and how they can be used to their advantage. The most common tools. Automation and delegation. It's no secret that time is a precious commodity, and any experienced professional knows there is more to being productive than just doing the right things. Being efficient with the way you use your time is one of the most important skills a master of business administration can have. Taking less time to do something means you have more time to spend on something else. One can either increase efficiency by finding a way to do something faster, automation, or by finding someone else to do it, delegation. Usually the best results are obtained by doing both. We live in a world where tasks have become increasingly complex and, as a result, often take too long to complete. People can find themselves spending hours on a task, which could have been completed in a fraction of the time if the task had been broken down and a suitable method found. This is where automation comes in. Automation involves finding a way to perform a task more quickly, with little or no human intervention. Examples where automation can be used include paying bills, sorting email into folders, and formatting documents. With a variety of bills to pay, it is possible to waste a lot of time going to different web pages and entering credit card details. In this case, it would be more efficient to find a way to pay all the bills at once using a credit card or internet banking facility. Email can be automatically sorted using filters to determine the data contained within the email. This is useful for separating junk mail from important mail or mail pertaining to a particular subject. Finally, often a particular task, such as formatting documents, can be specific to your computer. In this case, a custom computer program may be used to complete the task. If such a program does not exist, it is possible to task share the work to someone who is willing to and has the skills to create it. Improving focus and concentration. Being able to concentrate for long periods of time is a tough task, especially in our world of constant distractions. It's for this reason that setting aside specific time periods in which you aim to maximize concentration can be a very effective strategy. With commitment to follow through, the conscious decision to say, "I will not be deterred from this task during this time frame unless there is an emergency," can have very positive results. An emergency is not a friend calling you for a chat, an email popping up, or an itch to check your favorite websites. This strategy is best utilized when you allocate specific time periods to work on specific tasks in a weekly/daily plan. Saying "you will try to get around to it" when I can leaves too much room for procrastination and an easy exit to tasks we don't like. If you find your mind is full of mental chatter and you can't settle into a task, the following strategies to manipulate your environment and maximize your mental energy may be helpful. Although it is impossible to change or control every aspect of your environment, the more you are able to control in your environment, the more you are able to stay focused and on track. Focus is the ultimate key to productivity. When we are focused and concentrating, all our mental and physical resources are channeled in the same direction. This is power. Nothing can compete with it. When you are working on high-priority activities with high concentration, there is no limit to what you can accomplish. So, why do we struggle with it? In the interest of time, we won't go into the psychology, but we'll discuss key strategies to help improve your focus and concentration. Chapter 8. Strategies for effective time allocation. Someone who has a work-based goal, such as completing a report, and a clear reason for doing it at home, is in a better position to allocate a specific time for the activity than someone without a goal just wanting to clear the decks. The individual without a goal is much more likely to find that the leisure activity they planned will be interrupted several times. First, they will feel restless, then guilty, or they will tell themselves they can afford to spend less time on work. This is not a bad allocation of time, but a failure to preserve designated leisure time. The anticipated completion time for the work will then be extended, making the total time spent on work disproportionate. High self-monitoring individuals should seek to learn the time investment for work activities and endeavor to match it or not exceed it when at home. A record can be kept on a simple monitoring sheet or entered into a diary or electronic organizer under specific work goals with planned start and finish times. The basic principle in this section is that in order to manage one's time effectively, the sum of the time spent on work activities needs to be reduced. There are always plenty of reasons to take work home or do work at home. Applying the work-first principle, or trying to clear the decks so that we can do nothing is not the same as allocating specific time to work activities. What tends to happen is the individual is unclear about what is to be done, or is unable to relax because the home environment is not conducive to a clear distinction between work and leisure. Balancing work and personal life. There are two ways in which you can balance work and personal life. First is allocating time for tasks into different categories of the day. Second is to alternate tasks between work and leisure. The second option may not be effective for some people as they may not be disciplined enough to start work again once they are doing something leisurely. Heavily prioritized work-oriented people may also forego leisure to complete more tasks. This is why allocating time for tasks into different categories of the day is the more preferred way as you allocate a certain time to do the task. For both ways, it is important to know approximately how long a task will take. Doing this will lead to more effective time usage and time will not be wasted. An effective tool for this is time tracking, which will be discussed in the next section. Balancing work and personal life is about allocating a work-life balance that can help you slide through creating, developing, and completing your goals in life. This is a guideline for people who are creating and managing their goals, whether it is a short-term or a long-term goal. Usually, a person who is goal-oriented may overwork themselves by taking on too many tasks and work than they can handle, or may get too absorbed into the task that they forget the time and have no time to do anything else. This can lead to burnout or fatigue and may result in the person abandoning the goal. Balancing work and personal life also allows for a person to plan ahead in the future if there are any tasks which are time-consuming, such as studying, creating a project or assignment, or even events of any nature. Effective time tracking. Time is tricky. Unlike money and credit cards, once spent, time can't be replaced. Learning to manage time is an essential skill to bring balance to a person's life. People can rapidly and easily find time wasters using timesheets. Timesheets are not just for companies. Individuals can benefit greatly from using timesheets. Time tracking can reveal how much time is really spent on categories such as work, entertainment, and other activities. Armed with that information, individuals can make fundamental changes that result in better use of time. For example, an employee might realize that he or she consistently spends too much time on non-work-related tasks. That person might allocate a specific time slot during the day for these tasks. Not only can this result in better use of time during normal work hours, it can also provide a sense of accomplishment, knowing that there is more free time available. Allocating time for self-care. Many people have no trouble keeping appointments with others or planning their work, yet they consistently fail to make and keep appointments with themselves. They spend time on things that don't reflect their most important priorities. Often, they do this to avoid some other task, or because they have unrealistic ideas about how much one person can do. The result may be that they can accomplish a tremendous amount when they are on, but they may crash and burn, or never get around to providing adequately for their own long-term needs by way of rest, exercise, or nutrition. It is important to maximize the effectiveness of the time you spend on your own self-care. In the same way that an effective work/life balance maximizes the quality of work you have in your professional time, an effective self-care balance allows for better quality living in the time you have allocated for yourself. This is not to say that it is a good idea to obsess on taking care of yourself, as much of the most effective self-care is done as a restorative byproduct of an activity you enjoyed. Just make sure that what you're doing is hitting the mark. Chapter 9. Overcoming time management challenges. Prioritization also involves deciding what does not need to be done. If you are clear about your goal, it should be easy to eliminate tasks that do not contribute to that goal. You will never be able to do everything you want to do. Rather than doing a low-priority task, use the time to relax and participate in activities that are restorative and satisfying. Go to the cinema, play sport, or simply do nothing. This will help prevent you from feeling overwhelmed and overworked, and the allocated time is not wasted as it is important to rest. To overcome the difficulties that result from competing demands, it is essential to have a rational process for deciding the relative importance of the many tasks. First, identify all the things that you could possibly do. A useful technique for this is to brain dump all the tasks from your head onto paper, and then use the completion of the mastering time log for a more comprehensive list. Next, find the value of each task in relation to the other tasks. Will it reduce stress or create more free time in the future? Will it result in negative consequences if not done? Are there more severe consequences to not doing this task than others? Not studying for a test may have a more severe consequence than not doing the weekly shopping. By comparing the tasks in terms of their value, it should make it easier to decide which task should be done first. Managing multiple priorities. Managing multiple priorities involves making some hard choices. It means deciding what is most important, or what will bring the most value or return in relation to the time and energy spent. Once you understand what you are trying to accomplish and the relative value of your tasks, you can apply the 80-20 rule. This states that 20% of what you do will produce 80% of your results. So the key is to figure out what that 20% is in relation to your life goals. What is the most important 20%? This is where you need to focus the majority of your time and energy. Unfortunately, the majority of people are often weighted down with unimportant tasks that consume time. These are the 80% of tasks that only produce 20% of the results. In learning to separate the important from the unimportant, there are a couple of helpful guidelines. First is what is termed the A1, A2, A3 method. Before you begin, take all your tasks and divide them into 3 categories. The A tasks are those that you must do. If you did not do them, there would be consequences. A2 tasks are those that you should do. If you did not do them, there would be no real consequence, but they are important tasks. A3 tasks are those that you would do if you had the time, but there are no consequences whether you do them or not. Now sometimes, it is hard to tell the difference between A2 and A3 tasks. So another way to decipher between what is most important is to use the ACR method and ask yourself the following questions. Is the task contributing to my long-term goals, ability? Is it going to bring about some sort of positive change or result, change? Is the task going to provide satisfaction, or is it simply necessary, results? By using these methods, you can easily decide what is most important and where you should be dedicating most of your time and energy. Handling interruptions and unexpected events. Urgent tasks, which are not important, are quadrant II activities. It could be in your best interests to convert a quadrant II activity back into an interruption in order to preserve time for your planned high-priority task. Consider delegating a low-benefit activity and instructing your delegate to interrupt you only if they encounter a problem, particularly if you will be unavailable at a later time. A delegate can filter out avoidable interruptions to allow you to achieve a smooth re-entry from the one interruption you have converted. Urgent and important tasks are quadrant I activities. They often act as interruptions, but a planned work re-entry is usually possible. This can be by means of rescheduling an appointment, postponing a task for a short while, or as simple as arranging to deal with an urgent interruption as soon as it arises. By deciding in advance how to re-enter planned activity, you can convert an interruption back into a planned activity in the most efficient manner. When you are interrupted or some unexpected event occurs, you can usually manage to achieve a smooth re-entry to your planned work. We can classify anticipated interruptions using the quadrants framework. Dealing with overcommitment. Longer-term strategies aim to prevent the recurrence of becoming overcommitted. Alder provides useful suggestions in employing a more relaxed temperament, less need for external recognition, and a higher sense of self-worth so as to decrease involvement in marginal activities. This may be facilitated with practice in positive self-talk and affirmation. A habit of reviewing and affirming purpose in life and goals on a regular basis can aid decision-making in commitments. Finally, sensible planning and allocation of time to allow contingency for unexpected events can avoid the snowball effect of future overcommitment. In deciding what to abandon or reduce involvement in, it can be useful to keep a log of time spent during a week, then categorizing activities of low or questionable productivity to give a clearer picture of potential areas for change. Other tactics are to plan work for less definite times in an attempt to gain flexibility, set more selective and stringent priorities, or delegate tasks where possible. With respect to the former, finding activities to withdraw from can be quite difficult. A useful guide can be to ask, what would happen if I didn't do this? If the answer is nothing, then there is a good rationale for not continuing an involvement. If the answer is someone else would have to do it, this can mire the person further in guilt and has the potential to not actually reduce their workload. Learning to say no to further activities can be difficult, and for that reason, it is a highly regarded transferable skill to be able to diplomatically decline a request. The recommendations for dealing with overcommitment are less sequential than those previously discussed. Essentially, dealing with overcommitment is an exercise in prioritizing and, maybe more importantly, recognizing one's limitations. There are strategies in the short term for situations when one feels too busy, and longer-term preventive measures. Chapter 10. Maintaining long-term time management habits. Mastering time. Strategies for effective time management, written by Ellen R. DeLizio, shares the author's explicit techniques and offers her greatest advice to her own reader audience in guiding them towards time management skills. DeLizio's writing reflects her time management process. She describes the steps she took to solve time management obstacles and how she self-coached herself out of her old habits. The main idea of her book is to manage your time by changing habits, following a routine, and assessing what does and does not work for you to sustain lasting time management practices long after the fact. In the last 4 pages of the book, there is a time management assessment survey that will help you rate what and how well you are doing things now and how they compare to how you used to do them. The survey questions offer profound insight into current habits, be it good or bad. DeLizio's message to her readers is to say that to change time marshalling habits, it does not require the drastic change of overkill, but something as small as managing 5 minutes a day and changing one old habit. The straw that broke the camel's back was when she realized how bad her time management skills were getting during her high school teaching years. She described her situation as one big time puzzle. The more she lost track of time, the more she found herself scurrying someplace and always managing to lose something or forgetting to follow through and getting her work finished late. Though she reasoned that her lifestyle changes and family additions were causing her this stress, she pinned down the culprit, her WoW career, and decided to retrace her steps after the time when she felt it was sort of out of hand, so she could guide herself back to what she once did to manage time in a different way. This is the same approach you will likely take if you primarily want to change time management habits and sustain planned time in the long run. Creating a time management routine. Remember that behavior changes generally take around 3 months to become established habits. At the start, it is common for those habits to break occasionally. It is important to find out why the habit broke and try to find ways to avoid it in the future. If you don't go for a run because it looks like rain, plan an alternative indoor exercise and form a habit of checking the weather when you first get up. After the initial breaking of a habit, it can be useful to write a contract with yourself to commit to the change. If, however, you find that the change is not working for you, it may be necessary to put old habits back in place and think of another way to make that change. Time management is an ongoing process of change, and it is important to keep flexibility in your routine and be open to new ideas. It helps to begin by writing a plan. Where does your time go? How would you like to be using your time? Use the information from your answers to change how you manage your time. Visual reminders to prompt change in behavior can be useful. These include linking tasks to regular events, like doing sit-ups every morning, leaving an object in an odd place, like your keys in the fridge to remind you to check if you need to go back there, and creating a living or working environment that prompts the desired behavior and keeping your running shoes by the door. Schedule a block of time to concentrate on learning the new behavior. Find out what is rewarding about this behavior and tell yourself this every time you do it, as well as giving yourself a reward after. And if you dislike housework, give yourself permission to do something you really enjoy afterwards. With time, the new behavior will become an automatic response to the environmental cue, and the old behavior will decrease. Creating a time management routine is essential in ensuring ongoing time management success. A routine consists of a pattern of behaviors that become a habit, and these habits need to be learned and implemented in the context of your current lifestyle. Changing behaviors is difficult and can take time. It is important to start by focusing on a few key areas. Too much change all at once can be overwhelming and difficult to sustain. Once these few habits are well established, you can focus on introducing more changes. Reviewing and adjusting strategies. What didn't go right? Having recognized the signs of effective time management, the opposite symptoms will tell you clearly what are ineffective time management practices. If you have followed a planning system and it isn't working, analyze what went wrong. If you procrastinated and changed activities, ask yourself why and the value of the new activities. If there wasn't enough time to complete what you had planned, you may have underestimated the time required or scheduled it at a busy time. Just as the path to hell is paved with good intentions, so the road to ineffective time management is paved with unrealistic planning. Make sure that your strategies are realistic and flexible, and that your plan is being followed. It is important to regularly check your performance against your plans and current goals to ensure that you are going in the right direction. This is a skillful and difficult task, but it is important to avoid waste working against closed doors. Identify the best time management strategies for you. With the massive variety of time management strategies and systems on offer, it is easy to change strategies unproductively. If a system isn't working, identify the reasons for it and then try something else. Note the characteristics of your current situation and what you are trying to achieve, and then select strategies to match. With experience and by learning from others, you will be able to select or create the best strategies for every situation. Approach time management as a work in progress. Success comes from maintaining effectiveness, and that requires the flexibility to adapt and update your plans in response to new information and changing circumstances. So view time management as an ongoing process. See the work and the decisions as a series of opportunities to achieve good time management. And it helps keep up your motivation. In this way, you will also recognize the signs of progress. Recognize and avoid time management planning. Sustaining motivation and discipline. One of the most effective ways of sustaining motivation and discipline is to have an accountability system. This involves making a commitment to change and involving other people in helping to make that change. Effective goal setting is a good first step. Clear goals help to align effort and focus and provide a way of monitoring progress. It is important that goals are concrete, achievable, and time-based. A student may set a goal improving his/her GPA from 2.7 to 3.0 in a semester. An athlete may aim to reduce his 400 meters running time by 2 seconds by the end of the competitive season. In each case, there is a concrete criterion for success, a clear time frame, and a way of assessing whether the goal has been met. An individual can use a personal planner to set specific time periods for assessment of progress against each goal. This will help to maintain awareness of the goal, and goal maintenance can be shared with peers or a coach. In this case, a comparison of planned against actual time allocation can be an effective measure of commitment and progress. An individual will have to explain why they have not followed through on a commitment to change to other people, and this can provide external pressure to stick with it. When students begin to master time management skills and experience the benefits of keeping up to date with their academic, work, and personal commitments, they often suppose that they will be able to continue planning and managing their time effectively. However, because time management is not an end in itself, but a means of helping one to achieve other ends, It is likely that once the pressure is off, an individual will begin to slip back into old habits. It is therefore important to focus on how time management skills can be maintained over the long term. Chapter 11. Conclusion. Readers should now understand and be committed to the use of time management strategies. They should also be able to select and use the right strategies. Using a planner and breaking down the semester into weeks and then days is a good first step. As you write each assignment in your planner, check the due date, and then work backwards, breaking the assignment into manageable parts. Blocking out specific time periods for studying is also important. Remember to be flexible, as there will inevitably be times when you need to adjust your schedule. It is important to maintain some free time within your schedule to allow for the unexpected. A healthy balance between time spent on work and time spent on leisure is a crucial aspect of time management. Always remember the purpose of developing effective time management skills. It is to increase your control over your own life. This involves continually setting and re-evaluating personal goals. Consider your strengths and weaknesses and identify areas of your behavior and or habits that you wish to change. With the implementation of specific time management strategies and some hard work, you will soon bring about the changes you wish to see in your own life. Recap of key strategies. It is also important to fight drowsiness if you want to avoid sleeping in. Try to adopt a more positive outlook about sleep. The idea is to remind yourself how refreshing a good night's sleep will be, so that you can get used to the idea that trading the extra decision-making time for sleep will be well worth it in the morning. One other good tactic is to associate your bed with sleep. It's not a good idea to use your bed as a place to watch TV, listen to the radio, or have long phone conversations. You want your body to think of the bed as a sleep zone, so that when you get into bed, you're fully prepared to rest. Maintain a regular sleep cycle and reduce your sleep debt. Aim for at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night. Develop a bedtime routine to help you fall asleep. This could include taking a warm bath or reading a book. Relaxing activities prior to bedtime may promote better sleep. Refrain from stimulating activities and consuming caffeine too close to bedtime. These activities can make it more difficult to fall asleep. Embracing a time management mindset. The importance of cultivating a mindset that revolves around time management cannot be overstated. You can develop better self-discipline and further integrate time management skills into your life. At this point, your progress will start to snowball as you begin to incorporate time management into your daily routine, ultimately enabling you to take full control of your time. However, the decision to change, and ultimately how effective you are in doing so, is up to you. Everyone can improve on their utilization of time, so take heart in knowing that many others have succeeded in managing their time. If you have read this guide, then you too are on the right path. By adhering to the strategies outlined in this guide and maintaining the determination to change, you can become a time manager rather than a time spender. Take it one day at a time and do not be too discouraged by minor setbacks. Developing effective time management skills is a gradual process. By consciously choosing to incorporate these skills into your life, you will soon wonder how you manage to get by without them. Unlocking your productivity potential. Sensing and intuitive learners differ in what they pay attention to and their preferred methods of learning. Sensors attend to facts, details, and practicality, often preferring sequential, linear, and concrete thinking and communication. In contrast, intuitive types attend to meanings, patterns, and possible future implications, often preferring global and abstract thinking and communication. SF and ST types are more likely to have trouble with learning and decision-making that involves future possibilities or abstract concepts. They are more efficient and effective while working within their preferences on personality dimensions and learning styles, especially when it is of high interest and involves their required responsibilities. High interest and compatibility with their learning style will result in less time needed to complete tasks, lowered uncertainty, and increased confidence in their decisions and the quality of their work. A sensing-type medical school student indicated a preference to complete a psychiatry rotation before a surgery rotation despite no difference in the effect it would have on future opportunities in the specialty matched by these learners. This desire is less preferable for NF and NT types who tend to jump around in assignments that are less interesting or less clear in terms of the required result. Gathering information and completion of monumental tasks and hurried study for exams. Sense and intuitive learners often have trouble understanding each other's preferences and may express disapproval or give advice to attempt more productivity with little or no comprehension of the other's different but compatible preferred method of working. High NFs tend to prize empathy, and advice is often better received coming from those with similar feelings and requiring explanation and a chance to express their decisions to others. NCs will often decide something is not worth the time spent and may be led to increased productivity and quality of work by considering more practical implications and using more efficient methods. Identifying and enhancing personal strengths and preferences. The second approach involves identifying and enhancing your personal preferred ways of working and learning. 6 general categories have been found in research on learning styles using instruments such as the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, MBTI, or the Herrmann Brain Dominance Instrument for Type. The 2 most influential dimensions of personality are how people prefer to gather information, sensing or intuition, and how they prefer to make decisions, thinking or feeling. Preferences in these dimensions lead to 4 basic personality types. Those preferring sensing/feeling, SF, sensing/thinking, ST, intuition/feeling, NF, and intuition/thinking, NT, Myers et al., 1998. Hinrichs and his colleagues have related these types to learning styles and the MBTI to implications for career advancement and time management.
If you found this content enriching and valuable, we would be deeply grateful if you could express your appreciation through liking and subscribing. Your support is incredibly meaningful and enables us to continue creating content that resonates with you. For those who think this is a great gift for yourself or for your loved ones, you can find the link in the description.